Hey, this is Victor from Chicago Entrepreneur, and today I'm going to read you the book, The Millionaire Booklet by Grant Cardone, How to Get Super Rich. Now, Grant Cardone wrote this book one day when he went to an event, and I believe he wrote it within like 12 to 16 hours. He wasn't supposed to write a book because he was under contract to write a book with a publishing company. So he called his CEO, Sherry Hamilton, and said, hey, I'm writing a book. And she says, hey, you can't write a book. You're the contract. He goes, fuck it. Then I'll write a booklet. So this is The Millionaire Booklet by Grant Cardone. My name is Victor. And how am I associated with Grant Cardone and the 10X team is that I did, guys, plenty of classes down there in Aventura, Florida, at Grant Cardone's office. As you can see, I met Grant Cardone several times. I've been to the Growth Cons 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I actually went to the Undercover Billionaire 1-year reunion down in Pueblo, Colorado, where I met Matt Smith, Jenny Smith, and the whole Undercover Billionaire team when Grant Cardone did the 90-day challenge to make $1 million, which he did 5.5. I just stuck that picture there. It just fell, so I'm not going to stop. But anyways, that was a picture of Grant Cardone. I moved it from the wall up there down to here, and of course it didn't stick. But let's keep going here, okay? The Millionaire Booklet by Grant Cardone. The Millionaire Booklet, How to Get Super Rich by Grant Cardone. Okay, let's start with the preface. I was inspired to write this book after attending a charity event. It was a Sunday night when a couple of hundred people showed up for dinner, knowing they were going to be asked to give money. The target was $2 million. As I looked around to see who could actually pay, I thought the target was impossible. The room was filled with hardworking, super generous people who had already given much of their money, even borrowed money, and many were volunteering their time. Some had done all three. I could tell they all wanted to do more, but they were just tapped out. About 20% of the total was raised by 50 people. There was another $500,000 raised by 4 families, still leaving $1 million short. The last million was donated by one guy, and the audience was thrilled and amazed. People were crying and proud we had achieved the vital goal of funding this worthy project. As I looked around, watching everyone celebrate, I realized there was not a person in the room who didn't want to be the guy who gave that million. I came home that night, inspired, and told my wife, I'm going to write a book to teach people how to become millionaires. And that night, I wrote this book, The Millionaire Booklet. Was written without a ghostwriter. Impressive words or a bunch of economic facts. In fact, it was written in 2 hours, guys. There you go. I thought it was 12 or 16 or 8 hours. No, in 2 hours he wrote this book. Forgive me in advance for its simplicity. I hope to make millionaires with this small booklet, not award-winning writers or economics. I'm not trying to impress you with what I've accomplished in my life or how much I know. The reality is what I have created financially in my life is very simple. And that is why it will work for you. I want to help you reach millionaire status, even get rich. If you believe that you deserve to be the person in the room that writes that check for $1 million, $10 million, or even $100 million, let's roll, baby. Grant Cardone. Introduction. In the Millionaire Booklet, How to Become Super Rich, I want to simplify the process of becoming a millionaire. And if you want I want to be becoming a millionaire. If you want even super rich. This isn't some pie in the sky, out of high reach, big claim. I know it is attainable because I have used the information here and done it. I know with 100% certainty that anyone can do this and even more if they do the work. Regardless of your current economic condition, where you live, or what you do, you can become wealthy. I also believe it's your responsibility to do so. It's your duty, responsibility, and obligation to become rich. In case you don't know anything about my story, I'll reveal that when I was young, I made a commitment to creating wealth for myself. Since then, I have worked very hard and created generational wealth that is probably indestructible. I say probably because I am not naive enough to underestimate the levels of economic manipulation and insanity present on this planet. While I made my commitment to get rich at 16, I was still broke at 25. Then I started studying the wealthy, using the principles of wealth creation and codifying what worked and didn't. It has been a long haul for me. I remember saving my first $10,000, then one day realizing it was $100,000. By the time I was in my early 30s, I had my first million set aside. I was in my early 30s, I had my first million set aside. Since then, I had built 5 companies that produced over $100 million a year in sales, created a net worth well over $100 million, and own an income-producing real estate portfolio worth over $400 million. And as of today, it's worth over $5 billion. Congratulations, Grant. You may be saying, good for you, Mr. Cardone, but can you actually show other people how to do what you do? While I guarantee you will have the kind of results I have, there are others duplicating the financial success I have created by employing these principles. Here are a few of them. Dale Carnegie was 54 years old, or Dale C., not Carnegie. Dale C. was 54 years old of age and had $56 to his name. When we create over $10 million in net worth and a dependable monthly income using the 8 simple steps included here. Jared G., which I know is Jared Grant, his president right now of Cardone Enterprises, was 28 when he started following the 8 simple steps. In 4 years was a millionaire with 3 dependable flows of income. David F. went from making $8,000 a month to $50,000 a month. DJ H. was making $38,000 a month annually in sales and increased it to $135,000 a month. Robert F. followed this information and went from $18,000 a year to $360,000 in 24 months. Diane C. was 65 when she employed these millionaire strategies and made more money in the following year than she had made in her entire lifetime. Chapter 1. Getting rich is not a fantasy. How to become a millionaire or multimillionaire, even hectamillionaire, 100 million units. It's taught in schools or colleges. In fact, most of society frowns on anyone who talks about getting rich. Some even protest against those who have created financial independence. Do you see that now in society, guys? How people that are wealthy, they're frowning upon them. They want to stake these people up because the poor people think it's good to be poor and the rich are greedy. No, we worked hard for it. It's a funny thing that schools teach you how to read and write, how to do math, how to know history and geography, and how to pass a test, but they never broach the subject of how to get rich. Getting super rich seems to be a topic reserved for fantasies, movies, and drunken what-if games. Most have come to believe that becoming a millionaire is for the Lucky Sperm Club, business owners, gold diggers, lottery winners, athletes, rappers, and inventors. Listen, the only one that I'm at here, guys, it says here, business owners. And you may be in that club also, okay? The reason most people never get rich is that they never even considered it a possibility. They are convinced by those to them to simply be satisfied with whatever their financial situation is. The other reason is that people fundamentally do not understand money. Very few know how to get money, even fewer know how to keep it, and almost no one knows how to multiply it. Just look around and you will see the signs of this everywhere. Even in one of the richest countries in the world, America, 76% of the people live paycheck to paycheck. Are you one of them? Some 50% of Americans have no money for retirement, and 47% of Americans don't have $400 for an emergency in their home. Think about that, guys. 40%, half of the Americans that live in this country right now, don't even have $400 if there's an emergency in their house. If these statistics were true in a poor country, it would be one thing, but America is considered a wealthy country. Turn on the television or go online and you will see endless, ridiculous financial advice. Financial pundits suggest saving tricks where your path to wealth is finding the lowest price for a product or putting more air in your tires to save gas. This piece of advice always cracks me up. If you don't drink coffee out, you'll save another $700 a year. You can save $700 a year for the next 50 years and you won't be rich, you'll just be old. Another pundit preaches all debt is bad and that by avoiding debt, you will somehow be financially free. Never borrow money under any circumstance, the previously bankrupt advisor promotes. He overlooks the reality that almost all the super rich have used debt to multiply their wealth. Flip the channel and you will see fancy graphics making a case that you should turn your money over to the boys on Wall Street who, smarter than you, will invest in stocks, bonds, and financial instruments they can't even explain. Ask your parents for money advice and they will recite their path. Get a good job, buy a house, contribute to your 401k, be grateful you have more than most, and pray everything goes right. I have never wanted to have just enough. In fact, truth be known, I've always wanted to be rich. While I do believe in prayer, I don't expect God to take care of my finances, and I certainly don't want to leave it up to everything going right. At a very young age, I noticed how the people who made the decision and had the power of choice all seemed to be the people with money. I wanted to be one of them. I didn't want money for sake of money. I didn't want money for the sake of money, but to be able to have the power of choice. At the age of 8, one of my first experiences with money was walking to the local grocery store. I had a quarter in my pocket to spend at the store. I was excited, giddy, and I left powerful. I was walking to the store with my brother, finding my quarter, then I dropped it in the street and it rolled into a manhole. I got onto my hands and knees only to discover my arms were too short to retrieve this quarter. I got up wet, dirty, angry, and wanting to cry. I remember going home and telling my father how I lost my quarter. My father said to me, "You shouldn't play with money." My grandfather later grabbed me and said, "Son, the problem isn't simply that you lost a quarter. The problem is that it was your only quarter. Since that loss, I have been fascinated with the idea of amassing enough money so no single event or loss would ever cause me to be without." Chapter 2, where you get your advice. Word of warning, for this to work, you need to start being very selective about where you get your advice. Tell someone you are reading a book about how to get super rich, and they will most likely tell you it's impossible. Just try it right now. Call a few friends, and I assure you at least one of them will say, "Really? The only person who is going to get rich is the guy who wrote this book." You see, part of the problem is that most financial advice from people who are struggling with or have given up on money. Most of the advice you get about money is from people close to us who either don't have money or have given up on it. Some of the people you get advice from never even thought financial freedom was possible. You must look beyond the dumb advice of family, television, pundits, blogs, get-rich articles, cute quotes on Instagram, and silly little things. Look beyond all the noise and confusion about money, and you will discover a select group of people who have created enormous wealth. I am talking about the top percentile of the wealthiest people on the planet. like magnets of wealth and prosperity. They appear to magically prosper no matter what happens, some doing better in bad times than good times. These are people you should study and model your financial journey on. Be very selective where you get your financial advice and never take advice from a quitter or a pretender. There are many pretenders out there and even more who have simply quit on financial freedom. I tell you this because where I got my advice early on was mostly from observing my surroundings. I organically learned from my immediate environment and adopted the philosophies of those closest to me. I grew up in the middle class. My father worked very hard to create a middle class life for us, and this was a big accomplishment for them. Both my mother and father were both brought up poor. My dad made it into the middle class, and shortly afterward, he died at the young age of 52, massive heart attack. Never take advice from a quitter or a pretender. My mother had no knowledge of money and was left with the responsibility to raise 5 kids on just a little bit of money from my father's life insurance. My mom was scared, even overwhelmed. Every day she was playing defense, trying to figure out how to make ends meet. I felt powerless. I couldn't help her, so I thought. My mother's mantras were, waste nothing, turn off the lights, only use what you need, save everything, and be grateful. By the time I was 16, I was fed up watching my mother in a never-ending state of fear. One day I told her I'm going to get rich someday, so I don't have to worry about money. When I do, I'm going to help a lot of people. My mother thought I was being an ungrateful brat, but I wasn't. I wasn't grateful because I hated how our life was, and as a result, I have spent the past 40 years trying to change that for myself and others. Getting rich is a taboo topic in our country. Go outside and tell someone, I am going to become super rich, and they will think you are crazy. Get rich and then openly tell people, I am rich, and society will label you a greedy, gluttonous, elitist pig. Sound familiar? Tell them you are poor and they will sympathize with you. But tell them you are rich and they will despise you. The truth is, getting rich, even super rich, shouldn't be taboo. And it should be your battle cry. Last year I helped raise more than $100 million for charity. I remember a time when I couldn't lend you $1. I was so broke. Getting rich is not only possible, it is vital to your survival and your ability to help those you love. We live on an economic planet. Every day, every one of us is confronted with money, requirements, and limitations. From shopping to the grocery store, to feeding yourself, to taking care of your kids and parents, to funding yourself through old age, to taking care of unexpected setbacks. The entire subject of money is greatly misunderstood. What is money? Where did it come from? Who decides what it's worth? What is enough? How do I invest it? What do I have enough to invest? Hell, most people don't even know what they pay in taxes. Most people have more money saved than they are underage. Okay, most people have more money saved when they are under the age of 10 than they have when they get out of college. It's crazy when you think about it. How can a kid who knows nothing about money have more money than an adult with a degree? The reality is most of us have incorrect knowledge about money from our upbringing. When you were brought up poor or middle class, you inherit the beliefs of the poor and middle class. You're stuck with their ideas. The simplicity of money and economics is not as complicated as the schools, universities, economics, and financial channels make it out to be. Money, economics, and amassing financial freedom is actually very simple. For instance, anyone who tells you that money won't make you happy never had enough money to know whether it would or it wouldn't. This idea is born from those who try to make sense why they don't have money. People justify and try to make the sense of their condition in life. Have you ever heard those people say, money won't make you happy? That's generally from a poor person, guys. For example, my mother clipped coupons as though her life depended on it because that was her only play. She spent all of her time justifying those actions. I remember when she visited me in Beverly Hills long after I had made it financially. We went grocery shopping together and I told her, Mom, grab 6 of those artichokes. She said in her southern accent, oh my gosh, son, I can buy those for $1 less back home. I told her, Mom, make it a dozen since I can't go broke $1 at a time. You see, my mom was still stuck with the beliefs of the poor and middle class long after it mattered. That is what people do. They defend what they have done to survive and then get stuck in the lower poor condition. Now back to whether money will or will not make you happy. I can assure you money will not make you happy, nor will it make you unhappy. I have been happy and unhappy. I have been broke and I have been very rich. They have nothing to do with one another. And whoever talks about them in the same conversation is someone justifying why they don't have money. One additional note on this from personal experience: if you are going to be unhappy, be as rich as possible. It is better to be unhappy rich than it is to be unhappy and poor. Financial freedom is 2 parts, mental and 1 part mechanical. And you have to get your mental part right first. What I mean is that you probably need to lose your mind first, including many of the beliefs you were brought up with. For instance, getting rich is mostly a game of offense, not defense. Like my mother taught me, taking risks today is the way to eliminate risk. Taking risks today is the way to eliminate risk. But you have to take risks at the right time. Your daddy's advice was to always play defense with money. To get rich, you have to learn to play offense most of the time, not defense. Wealth knows no age or sex, and it doesn't care about your story. It shows no sympathy and has no feelings. It listens to no God. There is no age too young or too old. Anyone can play the game, but you have to play the game of wealth on offense. To win the game of money, you have to be on the field as an offensive player first. Later, once you are ahead in the game of money, you can play defense. If you want to get rich, you can stay on defense or be a spectator, and you need to have a strategy. All that being said, it has never been easier to get rich than it is today, and never more important. Just last year, 500,000 households, half a million Americans became millionaires. Are you ready to get rich? Oh, it's not for me. I am one of those people who figured out how to create wealth. I have become a millionaire hundreds of times over. I am telling you this to inspire you. You can do this. The wealth I have created was not because of my education. I totally wasted that. It wasn't because of my connections. I destroyed them all. And it wasn't because I was lucky. I have never been one of those. I also didn't take a company public or create some cool invention or some fancy app. You hold in your hands information that will show you how to accumulate millions of dollars, even hundreds of millions of dollars. I would tell you this booklet can make you a billionaire, but I haven't done that yet. Oh, yes, you have. By the reading of this book, Grant Cardone holds $5 billion in real estate, so he has become a millionaire since writing this book. I will only make claims to what I have done for myself and for others. I only ask you to do these 3 things. Keep this booklet in your possession until you become a millionaire. Share it with a friend. Here's the link, MillionaireBooklet.com. Once you get yours, help others do the same. Getting rich is mostly a game of offense, not defense. And guys, here's my truck. One of my guys coming here, so I'm going to stop right now, and then I'll restart in a little bit. All right, chapter 3, I'm back. And this is step 1 of the 8 steps on how to be a millionaire. All right, give me a second here, guys. Let me grab this. Hold on. Before I start, this whole video is sponsored by 1773 Porches here in Chicago. If you're looking for a porch or deck here in Chicago, give us a call, 773-767-2437. Yes, my number is public. You may want to call me. If I answer the phone, you hang up, I know you saw this video. All right, step 1, the millionaire decision. As I said earlier, the biggest mistake is to think becoming a millionaire is impossible. Turn this around a bit. And I put the picture back up, guys. As I said earlier, the biggest mistake is to think becoming a millionaire is impossible. People who simply don't think it can happen. So for the first thing, start all over. People simply don't think it can happen. So the first thing you have to do is decide to become a millionaire. You have to make a decision. You have to wake up every single day and say, I am a millionaire. Say it. I am a millionaire. I am a multimillionaire or billionaire if you want. You have to decide, and then you must reinforce that decision over and over. Put a stake in the ground right now. I am going to be very rich. Very, very rich. I am going to be a millionaire. Put a stake in the ground right now. I will not judge you negatively for making this decision. When you tell someone who has created wealth that you want to get rich, they will not frown or judge you negatively. They will pat you on the back and say something like, great, you can do it. And by the way, you should do it. Those who have created wealth understand that creating financial freedom is a worthy adventure. It is possible for anyone. Remember, more than 80% of all millionaires today are self-made. What's called first generational, meaning they created their millions without inheriting money. Now, before that little automatic voice in your head says, for the millionth time, I don't want to be rich, or I just want enough money to be happy, you should understand 2 points. Number 1, getting rich isn't just about you. And number 2, limiting yourself financially invalidates your ability. Most of us are convinced to settle for basic necessities, clothes, a house, transportation, time off, maybe an upper management position, and some money in the bank. This is called the middle class. The middle class is for those who settle for just enough rather than striving for prosperity. The middle class life is a compromise, and it's selfish. When you compromise your finances, you become unable to help others because you are struggling to simply take care of yourself. The other part of this is the constant invalidation of you. You are capable of way more than you know. So why set reasonable financial goals? For my entire life, I have had this constant gnawing in me that knows I can do more, achieve more, create more, give more, and help more. And I am most unhappy when I give up on that gnawing idea, and most happy when I am pursuing it. But enough of the esoteric and back to the material world. You can earn $80,000 a year or $400,000 a year and still struggle, depending on where you live and your responsibility level. Just because someone makes more money than a person born in some starving village in a third world country doesn't mean they are much better off. The argument is you have a cell phone, internet access, running water, and electricity to be grateful. That's code for make sense of your situation. But not having enough money doesn't make sense. A man once told me, how do you make sense of insanity? And the answer is you don't. And not having enough money is insane. The idea that someone would only need enough to be comfortable or adequately satisfied or have more than others as a way to justify his or her condition is ridiculous. The middle class is billions of people convinced by politicians and media to turn your money over to those smarter than them. Settle down in a nice house, reduce your ability to move for the next 30 years, and be a civil, law-abiding taxpayer who is grateful how much better off they have it than those who don't, or for those who have less. Make a decision right now to become a millionaire and debunk all of the ideas that idolize the mythology of the middle class. The temporary comfort provided by the house. The temporary comfort provided by the house, nice school, a couple of BMWs, a 401k. Does that ring a bell? And 2 weeks off is nothing compared to creating massive wealth. The first step to becoming a millionaire is to make a decision, and that requires you lose your middle class mind and then get your millionaire mindset. You must lose your small defensive, take no risk thinking. It has never been easier to get rich, but it is still impossible if you don't change your mind. There is so much money in the world today and so many ways to create wealth, but it will not happen if you settle. You know, there's a speaker called Jim Rohn, and Jim Rohn says most people will go to the beach with a spoon to get money, go to the ocean with a spoon to get money, but some of us go with a bucket to the ocean to get money. So go with a bucket. Many will disagree with me on this, but I believe millionaire today is the new middle class. In fact, many millionaires still find themselves struggling. If you want to get really rich, you will need to 10x or 20x or even 100x of $1 million. Use my 10x planner and start affirming your multimillionaire status every morning, every night, and anytime you have a setback. Make the decision right now. I am going to be very, very, very rich, and I'm going to help a lot of other people in the process. When you start to doubt the possibility, take out this little booklet and reread it, and trust me to help you get there. And reread it and trust me to help you get there. I was right. You don't need to trust yourself at this point. Simply put your trust in someone who has done it. When I first started studying wealthy people, I put my trust in them because I could not trust myself. Chapter 4, Step 2. Let me get a little bit of water here. Step 2, millionaire math. See, step 1 was the millionaire decision. Step 2, millionaire math. Your second step is to simply do the math. Did you know that most people will produce or be in contact with $1 million in their lifetime? If you earn $50,000 a year for 20 years, you earn $1 million. Remember that again, guys. If you make $1,000 a week, 50 weeks a year, $50,000 times 20 years, that's $1 million. So over your lifetime, yes, you did $1 million, but that's 20 years, guys. For any goal to be achievable, you must believe in its possibility as a realistic and doable goal. The way to do this is to simply by doing the $1 million math. How many different ways can you collect $1 million? You should figure out all of them out. The purpose of this is to simplify the objective. In my best-selling webinar, How to Become a Millionaire, I use the example of sticky notes. How would you collect 1 million sticky notes? First, you would ask if there are 1 million sticky notes on the planet. Second, you would ask them, and second, you would ask who has them, and third, you'd ask, what do I need to do to collect them? Do the math to create possibility, then create strategy. Do the millionaire math and reinforce your millionaire possibility and your commitment to it. Wealth requires simple, basic math, and any wealthy person will tell you this. After all getting to $1 million, it's about numbers. But keep it simple. The best ideas are always simple. Do the math to create possibility, then create strategy. I know couples I have worked with who, after doing the math, looked at each other and realized how irresponsible they have been. They never did the math. The husband told his wife. The wife said, there are so many ways to get there. They could finally see that they had what they had to do. Do the millionaire math. Keep it simple. The strategy will come after. So let me show you some. Here are a few ways to $1 million. I'm going to show you guys. You could screenshot this. Can you see it? Okay. So let me show you a few ways. Salary, like I said, $50,000 for 20 years. That's the way to $1 million. Salary, $100,000 a year. That's 10 years. Salary, $250,000 a year. That's 4 years. Earn $114 per hour every hour of the year. 5,000 people buy a $200 product. 2,000 people buy a $500 product. 10,000 people buy a $100 product. 1,000 people buy a $1,000 product. 5,000 people pay $17 per month for 12 months. 2,000 people pay $42 per month for 12 months. 1,000 people pay $42 per month for 12 months. I'm sorry, $83 per month for 12 months. 500 people pay $167 per month for 12 months, or $300 people pay $278 per month for 12 months, or do the bottom 10 on the list and you will earn 10 million in a year. Or do the bottom 10 on this list and you'd earn 10 million in a year. Whew. Okay, step 3, increase your income. Once you get done the math to realize how real it is to get super rich, you need to focus on increasing your income streams. In the beginning, excuse me, in the beginning, you simply set new income targets and then do whatever it takes to increase income. At first in increments, and then later in leaps. At 25, when I was struggling to make $3,000 a month, I quit bitching and acting like a baby about my income and committed to increasing it. The first target I set for myself was to simply make another $3,000 a month. Okay, he doubled his income. I did the math and it was $750 a week, or $100 per day, or $10 more per hour. It became real to me. I didn't change jobs, even though I didn't like my job. I used the job I had to learn how to grow my income. And the first month, I exceeded my target and made over $7,000 for the first time in my life, tracking for almost $84,000 a year if I could keep up that pace. I continued to focus on the simplicity of this, and in the first 12 months, I made almost $100,000. Not bad for 26 years old. I was super excited and realized how important increments and surges in income are to validating confidence and possibility. When you quit bitching about money and start taking responsibility for increasing your income, it's amazing what happens and how quickly it can happen. Money seems to flow to those who give it the most attention and who takes the most responsibility for it. Money never found me when I was complaining about it. Ever notice that the people who bitch about money are those who are the most broke? If you are in a sales position and you know what you need to do, sell more. If you are not in sales, then look for every way possible to add income. Don't say you can't. It's a lie. Anyone can create income. Go look for things you no longer want and put them up for sale. Don't even worry about how much or how little you sell them for. Sell them and prove to yourself you can increase your income. Whatever you can't sell, give away to charity and take a tax deduction. Instant tax credit is actually income in reverse, but I will save this calculation for a more in-depth book on wealth building. When you have nothing else to sell, go to your brother or sister's house and take away all the things they no longer want and sell it online to increase income. You could go get a second job waiting tables, giving massages, babysitting, pet sitting, teaching a language, driving for Uber, brother, or even panhandling. And I like that one because when I was younger, I used to panhandle. Grew up rough, guys. A family once asked me to coach them on their business, and due to financial troubles they were having, I proposed they start selling some of their personal property. The husband said, "These ideas seem to be beneath us." I reminded him, "What's beneath you is living paycheck to paycheck and never having prosperity." The broke groan, cried bellyache, and moaned while the rich take responsibility. The broke groan, cry, bellyache, and moan while the rich take responsibility. If you want money, you must quit complaining, moping, crying, making excuses, and you have to drop the entitlement thing. Whatever it takes, you are going to create prosperity. Complaining, moaning, and groaning will not increase your income. Make the commitment to create wealth. Be ethical on your journey and do whatever it takes until you achieve it. Let's face it, being broke is unethical. When you commit, you will find a way, and it never means you have to be unethical. Send my company referrals and I will pay you. For every company you refer to me for our online product, Cardone University, I will pay you $500 when we close the deal. Give me a 1 week and I'll pay you $26,000 a year. Get me 3 a week and you will pay $78,000 a year. Make $50,000 and I will pay you another $78,000 in referral bonuses. I just cut the time it takes to get your first $1 million from 20 years to just now under 8 years. Do the math. I saved you over 12 years. Is that beneath you? There are so many ways to increase your income today. From internet sales at home, writing blogs, editing for others, releasing a podcast, creating affiliate programs, joining great network marketing companies, and on and on. By the way, everyone should be involved in network marketing. Just the fact that you get access to an instant network of like-minded people committed to improving their conditions and their wealth creation. Now, once you increase your income, then keep doing the math and keep increasing the income in increments until you can start increasing in surges. The surges will happen when you increase your skills and start making investments. I remember the first time I made $100,000 in a year. I was blown away. I never imagined that one day I would make $100,000 in a month. These are surges and they expand your potential and confidence in your ability. Then I remember the first time I made $100K in a month. My confidence soared. I continued growing my skills, doing the math, increasing my income, and then one day, sure enough, I made $100,000 in a day, and then I did that in an hour. I had to work up this in increments until it was real to me. And no matter how much someone tries to tell you to simply think and grow rich, getting incremental income growth is vital to get your surges. Excuse me. But for sure, no one ever gets rich without increasing income first. Either you increase the income through investors or through the sale of products and services, or both. The creation of wealth, especially early on, is not about saving or investing. It's about increasing your income flows. For those who believe you must own or operate a business to get rich, it is not true. In fact, 3 out of 4 millionaires work for someone else. To increase flows, you must operate like you are a business. The reality is you are a business. You don't start a business. And the value of your business, you, is based on your ability to produce income. My daughters are 4 and 7. Man, now they're probably 14 and 16, both Sabrina and Scarlett. Those girls are beautiful and they've gotten big. I love those kids. And I've met the whole family. They're awesome. I got pictures with Sabrina and Scarlett. Both can produce income and will by exchanging their unique values with those who might be willing to exchange money with them. They don't need a business plan or a lemonade stand to increase income. They are businesses in their own right. By the way, both of my children have more money put away than 50% of the U.S. population. Step 4, who's got my money? I like that. Who's got my money? This is so simple. It is amazing and it's genius once you understand it. Simply ask yourself, who's got my money? People get into business and make a business plan and never ask this simple question. Make a list of who has your money, the money you want, and figure out what you can exchange with them. Whether you have a service, a product, or an idea. The question to ask yourself is always, who got my money? You don't need to make money. You don't need to connect with those who've already collected money. You have money, and exchange what you have. Let me go back, guys. Hold on, please, so I can understand this. Who's got my money? You don't need to make money. You need to connect with those who've already collected money. You have money. You need to collect the money. Who have money? And exchange what you have, skills and knowledge, with what they have, money. Start investing most of it. If not, all of your time with those people on your list. Get your millionaire mentality wrapped around this idea and spend every waking hour and all your energy on serving those who need what you have. At the age of 29, when I started my first company, I spent all of my time getting in front of people who could buy my product and spend almost no time with those who couldn't and who wouldn't. My wife and I recently were at a conference and I reminded her, Elena, there are only 4 to 6 people we need to meet here. When my staff travels with me to a convention, I remind them, be nice to everyone, but remember, we are here to meet people who have our money. This must be your foremost focus. If you don't do this, you will miss opportunities and waste time with people who cannot and will not buy or invest in your ideas. I sound like a bad, selfish, and greedy man, don't I? Well, no one calls me a bad man when the bill comes for dinner and I pick it up. No one thinks I'm selfish when they need a loan and I'm the only one that can help them because I am liquid. When you want to start a new business with me, I provide the funding. You will be glad I am focused on my finances. This is the hard, cold, simple fact of building wealth. Follow the money, as they say. If you spend all your time with people who can't pay you, will end up being someone else who can't pay. Who's got my money is one of the most powerful concepts in the creation of wealth and time. That being said, the more people you can help, the more money you will have. If you want to make $1 billion, simply help 1 billion people. The people who need the most help on this planet don't have much money. So they will need you to have money to invent the solutions to help them. Figure out a way to get help to 1 billion people, and you will likely end up with more money than $1 billion. And you will end up with more than money. You will end up with true wealth, friends, support, love, legacy, and worldwide admiration. But let's be clear, you aren't going to help 1 billion people without either having money or finding someone who does. So ask yourself, who's got my money? And keep asking until you have the answer. Once you commit this concept fully, the money will follow like magic. If you are one of those people who doesn't like to talk to people because you tell yourself you are an introvert or you're shy, get over it. Remind yourself you don't like just getting by or just being broke either. When your goals are big enough, you will quit telling yourself lies and making lame excuses. You are not going to become rich from your closet, garage, or living room. It doesn't happen. Every one of those garage billionaires got rich when they finally left the garage to sell their idea invention, or product. On my way from being broke to banking my first $5 million, all I focused on was who's got my money. I was traveling over 300 days a year for over 6 years, knocking on doors of prospective buyers, investors of my business idea. I provided a service and they exchanged their money with me. I hated every moment of it. It was not something I wanted to do, and I had to gut up every day to do it. I did thousands of free meetings around the US and Canada, traveling at my own expense to make myself known and find opportunities to get in front of qualified buyers and hope I could raise money to sell my product and increase income. Billionaire Mark Cuban was quoted saying, "The most important thing you must learn about any business is sales. Sales made simple is, who's got my money?" Once you commit to asking this question, you will want to learn how to master sales, and I can help you at CardoneUniversity.com. For now, make a list of who is qualified and make yourself known to them. If you have a money shortage, it is because you are investing your time with the wrong people and you're not applying. Who's got my money? There is no shortage of money on this planet. So if you have none, it's about some deficiency you have regarding money. Time invested, who's got my money, will always, always, always result in money. If you aren't getting in front of those who have money and coming away with it, you have to join me at CardoneUniversity.com and I will help you resolve those deficiencies. But first, ask yourself, who's got my money? Let me take a break, guys. Step 5, stay broke. When you start increasing your income, stay broke. I said broke, not poor. I have a policy to never, ever have money sitting around. Once I started increasing income, I immediately moved the surplus to a sacred account that were out of my reach and marked for future investments. As soon as I started increasing my income, I went to my employer and told him to withdraw 40% of my gross pay before taxes and direct deposit those funds into a personal account I had set up. They said, couldn't do that. I said, you do it for the IRS. You could do it for me. I set up 3 savings accounts, which I labeled something special, and treated these as sacred future investment accounts. Never use 401k for these funds. I remember when I first heard Michael Douglas say in the movie Wall Street, money doesn't sleep. I thought to myself, but it gets bored. I knew from watching other people handle money that when money sits around, it gets spent, wasted, and blown. Because I didn't fully trust myself to have cash sitting around, as soon as I created these surplus monies, I directed all of it to accounts reserved to make future investments and create future passive income flows. At the time, I was 26 years old when I started this, which allowed me to fund my first business, my second business, and real estate company. But the real benefit of this strategy was it forced me to continue to produce and to produce and outwork my earlier results. There were months when I was making more money than I ever made, and I would push the entire surplus into my sacred accounts. When I did this, I couldn't pay my rent, even though I was making more money than I ever made. I was forced to negotiate with my landlord for an extension of my rent. It was weird because everyone knew I was doing well, but I never had the money. I was broke, not poor, and it worked. This state of being broke forced me to continue to produce new revenue. I had seen many people have financial stress, then quit doing what created their success and then go backward financially. Staying broke forced me to keep reinforcing the actions that had already proven success. It seems human beings perform best out of necessity. Studying the super successful and those who are not, I notice huge differences. It is bizarre how the wealthy work like they are broke, and those who need money, the most don't. Let's go back. Hold on, guys. I notice huge differences. It is bizarre how the wealthy work like they are broke and those who need money the most don't. Still today, I watch the pretenders sleep like they are rich while I'm up like I'm broke. We both deceive ourselves, but with different outcomes. There's one of these sayings he says, something about being broke and sleep like you're broke and something about being rich. Anyways, let me, I digress, I'm sorry. The same will happen to you. Any idea plus hard work multiplied over long periods of time plus discipline will always equal success. There just comes a point in time when, well, you are super rich and most nothing can change that condition. But you have to put in the work. Ideas are great, but they mean nothing without hard work, overtime plus discipline. Idea plus hard work times time plus discipline will equal success. At the age of 25, I had made my real commitment to getting rich. I took my first idea and worked very hard every day to make it happen over long periods of time. Exercising extreme discipline, this created success in the beginning, allowing me to have a little extra money. Then I duplicated this cycle using money, saving money, and adding work over long periods of time, and using discipline with work with the money will create financial success. I invested the money in savings accounts while working my main business and spending none of the surplus money, discipline on stuff. I then prepared to reinvest the surplus monies to create new businesses and new, in fact, multiple income flows. From 25 to the age of 51, there was no alcohol, parties, showing off exotic cars, only one watch, and almost no vacations. Without knowing what my second business might be, or even what I would invest in, I continued to prepare myself for the day when I would expand. Stay broke, not poor. Deprive yourself now for the possibility of financial freedom in the future. Or more poetically, pay the price today so you could pay any price tomorrow. A guy recently asked me why we are still working so hard. I didn't want to go into a long philosophical explanation of how I'm preparing for a major economic meltdown, as I knew he was just being social. So I told him how much I love my work in hopes to let it go at that. Then he started saying dumb stuff like, you only live once, you know. And then he topped it off with, I never see you at the club anymore. I got bored with him, so I patted him on the shoulder and said, you never see me at the club, I never see you at the bank. That was good. Step 6, guys. And that is save to invest, don't save to save. I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back. Step 6, Chapter 8. Save to invest, don't save to save. Investing money is how you will get super rich. The only reason to save money is to one day invest money. I was brought up believing you should save money for emergencies, retirement, and that rainy day event. All those books I read about had wealthy people saving to make investments, not to just simply save. Since the age of 26, I've been saving so one day I could invest and expand, not simply to have some disaster or emergency I could fund. Excuse me. My first investment was when I was 31 years old. I had been saving for 6 years and operating like I was broke. A guy came to me after one of my seminars and had the idea to create a hands-on in-house training company in which a team of people would go into a company and put new sales procedures in place to increase sales. I told him I will loan the new company $50,000. It has to be paid back in 90 days. I get a salary for my information and a percentage of profits, and I will never lend you another dime if you can't pay me back in 90 days. So make it work. At that time, I only had a couple of $100,000 saved, but my main income, my speaking career, had proved itself very dependable, and I was growing at that time. I liked the idea because it was a symbiotic business connected to the first one, meaning I didn't have to take my attention off the first company to grow the second one, and the first business would feed the second one. My new partner paid me back in 90 days, and the new company paid me as much in the first year as my first business did. That's what I call surges or spikes, not just incremental income growth. My third company was created a couple of years after the second business. I was 35 years old and I had been studying real estate for almost 5 years. I had looked at hundreds of apartment buildings over the time and had never the courage to buy one. I finally pulled the trigger on my first deal. The deal was a 48-unit apartment building in Vista, California for $1.95 million, and it required $350,000 for a down payment. That was a third of my total sacred accounts. I knew it was a good deal, and I did it. It took me 6 years to find it, and when I did, I moved with speed on it. It cash flowed in month one and every month after that. 90 days later, I bought my second deal, a 38-unit in Point Loma, California for $3 million. 3 years later, I sold both properties and made over $5 million while earning $100,000 a year in positive cash flow. That $850,000 investment netted me $5.3 million, a 600% return. 8 years of staying broke, 8 years of staying on offense to strengthen my first and second business while safeguarding my sacred saving accounts set me up so that one day I could make a significant investment. That was the first time I made $1 million at one time, and in this case, it was $5 million in one swing. The truth is, it took years of discipline, knowledge, and courage to be in the position to seize that opportunity. Not a lucky break. Most people aren't equipped to take advantage of moments because they don't have the money, they don't have the knowledge or courage. People don't create wealth, they never invest enough in a deal to get a big payoff. Significant wealth creators make big plays, not little ones. To do this, you must have surplus of cash and confidence. When you know it's the right thing, go all in fast. Speed is power. When you do, you are going to exhaust your sacred accounts you have been building at those times. You must have complete confidence in the investment and in your previous income flows so that the investment takes longer to work on even fails. You still can rely on your earlier flows of income. Sometimes I will go years without investing in a new business and simply focus on making my current business stronger. I don't gamble with money. I invest it and I want sure things. That means I need to know what I am doing and the investment should be a no-brainer. I literally go through every possible worst-case scenario calculation, and if I can still make money, I go all in. When I do, I am willing to go broke and exhaust all my cash knowing I am not putting my family or those who depend on me at risk. The earlier income flows can support us. Last year, rather than buying more real estate, I invested in a jet, a Gulfstream 200. The real estate market at that time seemed overpriced to me, and I couldn't make sense of buying more. The way I calculated deals, I went broke again paying for the jet, forcing me to keep hustling. I justified the purchase believing it would get me in front of more customers and help me grow my existing business income. Almost anyone will tell you a jet is a terrible investment. Ask any accountant and they will tell you it's a terrible investment. But none of them can buy a jet. Either ask anyone who owns a jet and they will tell you nothing about buying a jet makes financial sense until you understand the value of time. I paid for the jet the first year I owned it because it allowed me to get in front of more qualified customers in shorter periods of time. and I continue to repeat the formula of increasing income, saving to invest, and grow increments and surges, preparing for the future investments. Step 7, guys, we're almost there. Step 7, and it's multiply flows of income. Poor people try to replace flows of money while rich people are trying to supplement flows. Creating flows of income is the holy grail of creating financial freedom and true wealth. At 25 years of age, I was complaining about how little money I was making. Today I have over 50 streams of income from 5 different companies, excluding a handful of stocks and mutual funds, which I despise. Some of those flows are from the first business that I still own and operate. Some are little drips and some are like fire hoses. The flows all require different levels of attention. Some require tremendous energy and others are much more passive flows. I appreciate and value all, and I never complain about any of them. Complaining about your money situation never seems to make you more money. The most common mistake people make when creating multiple flows of income is walking away from the current one. The next most common mistake is moving to secondary flows that are not similar to the first, and then being unable to give both proper attention. When creating your second flow of income, make sure to closely connect something parallel or symbiotic to your current flow and never abandon the first flow. For instance, if you work at a company and earn a salary, keep improving on what you do for that company and look for ways to create a second flow parallel to what you are currently doing. Do it within the company you work for the time that you are at work. So I have a construction company, guys. I'm a porch builder here in the city of Chicago. After we build the porches, I do something symbiotic, and that is I paint the porches when it's done. I offer that service. I'm going to have to take a break, guys, because my phone is dying. Okay, guys, I'm back on step 7 where I left off. Complaining about your money situation never seems to make you more money. Most people start a second flow outside of their work, get excited about it, start ignoring the first one, and then end up with one flow again. And then the second one they move to is weaker than the first one ever was. When you add a second flow, make a commitment to ignore the first one. Make a commitment never to ignore the first one. If you join a network marketing company, use it to supplement your first flow, both ways, until at some time in the future you can step away from it and never miss it or have someone else manage it for you. Also, make the flows work both ways. Make your new network of people familiar with the first company where you are working and flow business back and forth, strengthening both flows and both companies. Robert S. has a salaried job creating video content in my office. He was making $45,000 a year with my internet department. He listened to my advice and took on a second flow selling and earning commissions, bringing that up to $90,000 a year. Then he added a third flow by creating ad revenue for the Grant Cardone TV.com and produces another $45,000 a year for himself. I call this parallel or symbiotic flows because they work with what he is already doing. He didn't seek another job outside of work. He figured out how to create 2 more flows from the same position during the same period of time and uses his time off for self-improvement, so he continues to be brighter, faster, and more confident in his abilities so he can continue to expand. Never turn your back on the primary flow until, if ever, the latter flows are so strong that nothing could possibly destroy or erode them. Even then, you should think long and hard before walking away from any income flow, no matter how small. The same thing holds true when growing your customer base. Never turn your back on customers who got you to where you are now. There comes a time when it does make sense to walk away, but it should be the exception, not the rule. When I was selling cars, I tapped out on how much I could sell. I looked for other things I could do within the dealership to increase my income and to help my customers and the dealer. I learned how to finance the car as well as sell them. Everyone won. The finance manager didn't want to stay late. The dealer didn't have to pay someone else's salary. The customer was taken care of by your boy GC, and I earned extra money, ultimately making myself more valuable to the company, the customers, and myself. Never abandon your first flow. Nothing creates financial confidence more than multiple streams of income. Multiple strong flows of income. I have a billionaire friend who invested in my real estate portfolio. I remember when I sent him a check for $9,000. He called me and said, GC, that was nice. A little check you sent me today. Good job. $9,000 and the guy is worth $3,400,000,000. Crazy, right? To create multiple streams of income requires commitment and especially discipline in how you use your time and money. While this all seems oversimplified, simple works and complex almost never works. This is a rule I've used for years, by the way, with building my business and my company's simple works. First, increase your income. Then add to your income by starting a second symbiotic flow. Expanding on that, things that you already are doing. Bank all additional money so that one day you can make investments. Know what you are investing in until it is not a gamble or a risk, but a sure thing. This investment should create new flows and new wealth, which will allow you to make new investments that will create additional, more passive flows of income while never taking attention off the earlier ones. And one day, buy a jet so you can continue to go where you want, when you want, and continue the process and be the guy who gives the $1 million to charity. Step 8, repeat, reinforce, and hyperfocus. This is chapter 10, but step 8. We're almost done here, guys. You can and should be a millionaire. You can be a billionaire, a decabillionaire, or richer if you simply think bigger from the start, and then hyper-focus and repeat the steps I have laid out. Regardless of what others suggest, getting rich doesn't just happen. It comes with lots of challenges. You will have to give up something, probably many things. The first thing you will have to give up is your middle-class mind. The next thing you will give up is what everyone else thinks is fun. For 25 years of my life, I paid the price. While others were traveling, taking holidays, playing golf, and going on adventures, I was either building financial success or preparing myself to do so. The first sign you are on your way is when people close to you start to question, why are you working so hard? They'll say, we never see you anymore. What's happened to you? You never have time for us anymore. And on and on. When you start your wealth adventure, many people will try to convince you that it's not worth it. Some will tell you it's impossible. It is worth it. It is possible, and it is important. Your wealth adventure will be complicated by a new awareness that you are short on skills. Early on, I realized how little I knew how to connect with people, network, communicate, build rapport, and how little confidence I had. I didn't know how to sell, market, promote, build value, negotiate, close deals, or follow up on customers. I couldn't handle disappointment, rejection, and I wasn't even dealing with money yet. For the first time in my life, I started investing in myself. I committed to learning and studying because I didn't like to read I even took courses on how to study that were amazing and allowed me to learn anything and like doing it. Let me do that one again. For the first time in my life, I started investing in myself. I committed to learning and studying. Because I didn't like to read, I even took courses on how to study that were amazing and allowed me to learn anything and liked doing it. One of your early steps in learning how to increase your income, step 3, and then who's got my money, step 4, and this is where most people fail. I was spending 10 hours a day minimum at work 6 days a week on these 2 things, and the rest of the time on self-improvement and building the skills I was deficient in. As I started having success using my new knowledge, I immediately experienced a renewed sense of confidence and belief in myself. For the first time in my life, I felt really, really good about myself. I started feeling confident with my abilities and became more committed to success. Those around me became more critical of my new focus. This will happen to you, and you will need to be ready for it. You are the only one who has changed. So expect this, because when you change, you may be a threat to them. I remember when I started working on myself and the girl I was dating said, "Don't change. I love you just the way you are." I thought to myself, this isn't about you. It's about me and what I want. My commitment to myself improvement had become a threat to her unwillingness to self-improve. If you truly are committed to becoming a millionaire, you at some point need to change your environment. And by that I mean your friends, your family. That doesn't mean you need to get rid of people. It just means you need to add new people. The old friends will just fall off, as they will lose interest in you. You will be annoying to them. If you want to make it into the club of wealth, you must add new connections, and that means you need to reach up, not sideways and not down. If you don't change your surroundings, you will not make it. Make a list of people in your city that are super successful, on the move, who are interested in personal growth, active in charities, who invest time to improve the quality of their lives, and are not just complaining all the time. These are people you should surround yourself with. I am one of those people, my wife and my kids. And the people who work at my companies are all committed to improving ourselves and helping others be the best they can be and achieve financial freedom. People committed to success want other people to be successful. People committed to status quo want to be surrounded by the status quo. If you don't have the kind of people around you that you want, go get them. One way to find the right people is to continue investing in yourself. Go to conferences, meetings, join mastermind groups, and network marketing groups. Don't spend time and money on things, toys, holidays, or moments. Invest in the surest investment of your life, you. When it comes to yourself, self-improvement, and education, spend whatever you must. If you must borrow money to make yourself better, do it. Remember, you are not just trying to pay the bills anymore. You are playing to become a millionaire, super rich if you want. Find the technologies that can help you unleash the real potential in you. When you implement these 8 simple steps, I can promise you a few things. Number 1, it will be harder than you think. Number 2, it will be easier than you think. And number 3, you will achieve way more than you imagined possible. In case you were wondering, you can get rich. I don't know if anyone can, but I doubt just anyone will pick up this book, and even fewer will keep it with them every day. I know you can make it if you simply do what is laid out there. Remember to keep the Millionaire Booklet in your possession until you reach your first million, and when you do, make me the first person you contact. The end. Your friend Grant Cardone, the Millionaire Booklet. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this about an hour and 30 minutes, hour and 20 minutes of reading. It is true, guys. You need to educate in yourself first, because don't start a business, man, until you know all about the business you're about to get into. If you're going to get into real estate, learn the language of real estate. If you're going to be a plumber, learn the language of plumbing, okay? You cannot be successful in any business if you don't know the language, because you're just going to get yourself in trouble. And that's what I had to do. I got myself in trouble. And this is why I had to spend over $300,000 on my education in the past 10 years to get myself out of trouble and to get myself up to a certain status in my life where I'm not completely happy, guys. Okay? I still have a long way to go, but I'll tell you one thing. I'm way better off than I was before, and I'm way better off than a whole lot of my friends. With that being said, my name is Victor Gonzon. I'm the owner of Chicago Entrepreneur. I'm also the owner of 1773 Porches here in Chicago, which sponsored this video. And our symbiotic business is I'm a porch builder, but now I've also learned to now paint and stain these porches where I'm making extra income, 2 flows of income. There's other things we do too, but right now these are the 2 that I want to talk about, because again, you started a business, I build porches, now I have to stain the porches. That's another part of my company, and there's 2 flows of income right there, besides even some of the real estate I have and other small flows of income, guys, which I don't want to get into right now, but we could talk more about that later on. Peace. I love you. 10X. Also, you can see I trained with Tony Robbins. These are all the Unleash the Powers that I've been through, all of his events. And, of course, Grant Cardone. And if you look down in my office, there are more people that I've done. And this is my office here in Chicago. So I like that one, the black one over there. You see it says, don't be a little bitch, champions dominate. All right, you guys take care. I love you. I hope you found this enjoyable. Peace.